Hello, this is Eleanor from the library here, and today I'm going to be doing a session on planning your final year project. I have some slides to share with you, and I'll be running through those and describing to you really how to make the best of your time and using research and academic writing skills to make the best final year project you can. Now, there are certain features of a final year project that are slightly different from some of the essays or assignments that you've done before. It's an investigation, an extended piece of detailed work. It demonstrates lots of different skills in various areas, and not just knowledge of your subject area, but also your planning skills, organisational skills, researching skills, problem solving, and time management, as well as your oral and written communication skills that are required. There are effective use of headings, bullet points, and a range of graphical illustrations, specifically if you want to be doing in a format of a report, that will be required. And it is in an academic style. So obviously in your third year, you'll be getting used to writing this way for writing academically, clear, concise, professional, and referenced. The final year project has got some key components within it. This is the structure of your final year project and the sort of headings, the general headings that we would suggest that you sort of include within your work. Each subject area, each of the subjects is different, so there might be some slight differences within that, but generally we'd be asking you to consider having the title of your final year project, an abstract, which is a description of what's within the article, what we're expecting to read, some aims and objectives of the project, your own literature review, and your research methodology and how you chose that, plus also any ethical issues. You may wish to include your ethics form in the appendices, and then your findings and discussions, which may possibly also include recommendations. And then after that, you need to include your references and or bibliography and appendices. Before you start writing your final year project, it's important to start thinking about managing your time, specifically conducting a current audit of your time. So it may well be that there are specific times that you have availability, other times you might be on caring duties, or you might be in lectures, or you might be working. What you don't want to be doing is leaving everything to the last minute or having really long days where you're working. So just think about, when is a good time for you to work, and that conducting that audit is really helpful for you to identify times where you can do research and you can do writing. And also get an overview of everything that needs to be done on your course. So the task that's needed to be done, how long you need to spend on it, and completed by what date. And that's important because it gives you kind of the breakdown of what percentage each component is worth, when it's due. If everything is due in at the same time, that's when it's really important to be able to manage your time effectively. Now, this is Bloom's taxonomy, and this is a really interesting way of showing people how it's possible to really improve upon your marks and to really produce an excellent piece of work by moving towards the top of this pyramid. So instead of just having sort of knowledge, the ability to remember information, or you go from sort of saying that this is the general information and facts on a specific subject, then you go towards sort of comprehending it and understanding it. So you've got this sort of the meaning of why these things have happened. Putting the theory into the practice is the application and problem solving, which is the next part. And then you're able to analyse that, importantly identifying points and chief features. When you've done this part, you then might use the next part, which is your synthesis, to use information to make something new. That's your recommendations that you might make. And finally, the evaluation, which is the judgment based on the evidence that you present within your work. When you're starting your final year project, it's important to start thinking about your search strategy before you begin your research. This is important because it identifies what you're going to be researching and which tools you're going to be using to be able to find material. So if we're doing about a specific subject area, let's take drones as an area, then we're going to identify keywords and phrases. So when we're searching through databases, ebooks, platforms, journals, it's not like Google where you can sort of type in an entire question. You need to identify keywords and phrases. Often on your final year project, you will not be given a reading list or specific titles to read. Definitely need to worth speaking to lecturers about any recommendations they may have, and they can help you sort of think about your search strategy and keywords and phrases. Also, a use of thesaurus to find synonyms. So it might not be a book, but just when thinking about if you're using the term drones, you may also use the term unmanned aerial vehicles. There are various words or phrases that mean similar things. When you start undertaking your search, you will find either there might be thousands, millions of results, or there might be very few. When you find thousands of results, that's when you can start adding additional keywords or using the limiters on the library resources page to narrow down. So you may choose by relevance, you may choose by the date that something was published. Maybe you were only asked to look at something that was published in the last sort of 2 or 3 years. And then also there may be selecting subject terms. You might want to look at drones from a military perspective as opposed to how they can be utilised within, say, the online shopping industry. So doing all of that stuff should allow you to decide on your search criteria and which search terms you're going to be using and how you're going to scope out your final year project. So once you've made those decisions, then you can search the relevant search tools, select the ones that you might want to use. So specifically, that might be certain databases. If you're looking at drones, you might look at IEEE as a particular database, or Science Direct. Depending on which subject that you're undertaking, means that you might look at different resources, but that will kind of complete your search strategy. Another way to think about when you are writing in your keywords or search terms, to use something called Boolean logic. This is when you have keywords or search terms, but in between them there are one of these 3 words, which are and, or not. Same sort of logic is used within computing. Logic gates, they're called there, so you may be familiar with this. So if you use the word and between your search terms, it will look for results that contain both of those search terms. So if I'm looking for drones and military, I'm only going to get resources that come back that use both of those search terms within either the results, the full text, the title, or the abstract. If I use the word or between my results, between my search terms, the results are only going to include one or both of those terms. So that's kind of how I would use my synonyms: drones or unmanned aerial vehicles. The final one is if you want to exclude certain terms, you would use the word not before your final keyword. An example of that is if I want to find out about the theatre, but I'm not interested in medicine, so I would probably put theatre, not medical. So that's what my important thing there. Importantly, thinking about how you're going to get higher marks. What is the source of things that you've read? Who has written it? What experience do they have? Is there any potential bias or conflict of interest? Are the items peer reviewed? How old is the resource? Where has the research taken place? These are the sort of things that hopefully by using the library pages where you know you're looking at peer reviewed academic material, you're not having to make those decisions compared with just Googling something and having to do that sort of critical analysis yourself. These questions are important, and some of them have bullet points take on more importance depending on your area of research. For example, if you're looking at a particular technique used within the NHS, you might get a different results if they're talking about how this was undertaken maybe in Finland. This is quite a popular example of a journal article that I've seen before. So just the source, you must be thinking about being critical. And then the research that you do yourself or has been done within articles. So what research methods have been used? Is it qualitative research? Is it quantitative? Who are the participants? How old are they? What are their gender? Are you looking at specific age groups? You might be looking at the elderly, for example, if you're looking at treatments for, I don't know, it could be a particular type of pain. And how were they recruited? Was it something where they only talked to psychology students because they were the only people? And then how large is the study? And again, the geographical location. So that's another question that these are the questions that you're asking about the research that you're looking at and planning your own research methods. Just bear in mind, if you do need further help from us, we can book one-to-one appointments through our LibGuides library pages. So just Google Staffs Uni Library to access all of our library information, and then you can make an appointment with us. We can also provide support online to you, and do make use of the library homepage for useful information and further support. Thank you very much for listening.